Yo. Alright. What am I doing today? I'm talking about the Villainess stands the heroes, playing the antagonist to support her faves. If you don't watch until the end of the video, you're going to get hemorrhoids. Okay. What is this story about? Well, I think it's kind of obvious, but, yeah, the Villainess is standing specific characters, of course, because it's an isekai story. um, Yeah. If you haven't seen these videos before, I'm going to give you a straight up rating off the bat and then go into why I gave it that rating. And for this one, I think I'm going to give it a 6. It's just not my thing. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, it's not my thing. Um, the basic idea of the series is this character is reincarnated. She's our isekai protagonist. Um, she, of course, gets the usual tropes of like really OP abilities and whatever. And then, the idea is she goes about helping her favorite characters from the world that she's reincarnated in. This guy, for example, is one of her favorite characters. And the main trope of the series is basically just she's standing her favorite characters. If we're being 100% on what that means, if you don't know, the dictionary definition: an extremely or excessively enthusiastic or devoted fan. And yes, that is what she is. The basic idea in the series is she, she's supporting her her favorite characters from the game, to a very, very excessive degree. And then they, as these series typically go, they kind of, know what she's up to and start to catch on that she's actually helping them and not being a villain. But of course, at the start of the series, you kind of have to have that, like, opposing side thing where, like, they can't support her publicly because they, the public thinks that she's evil and everything. Which is fine. By the way, while looking up, like, images for this, I found something called Stan World, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know. It's like some sim standing looking thing. I don't know, but that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's the gist of what, the series is about. It's, it boils down to something very simple. Just, you have the main character, and then, she has her little, stands out in the world, and basically everything, that she does is dependent on these characters. And the whole joke of the series is that she will basically do anything for any one of these characters. So even if they're a bad character, for example, like one of them's like a, progenitor vampire, but she still kind of wants, him to be okay, but then she has to, decide between two of her stands, and it's like, oh, okay. Like two of her, like, her faves, as it's put in the title ever so well. Yeah, I mean, that's like the main gist of the series. Just, she has to support all of her favorite characters. At the start, she, plays the antagonist. That's not like the most prominent plot point, I have to admit. It's more so just right off the bat where, she's seen as like a big bad that needs to be taken out, but we kind of start the series with her being taken out. Like they've already, like, done the whole, like, we found out what you've done and blah blah blah, and you're, you're evil, and, all that stuff. But pretty much right after that, she just straight up, like, skedaddles and goes somewhere else to help other characters from the game, so it's kind of like, eh. The main idea after her, being found out for doing all these villainous acts and everything is that she wants to go and make, money to support her favorite characters. She's basically just, here's my role. My role is done. Now I'm going to give you as much financial support as necessary in order to get you the right means for accomplishing your goals. If there's anything to say, like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a bit strange how quickly they gloss over this initial starting point. Like, apparently, like, if we're looking at like a timeline of events here, after her reincarnation, like, she was reincarnated relatively young, but then she kind of just fell into the role, and along with that role, she just so happened to meet like one of the original, characters that she likes so much super early on, so he ends up being like a player throughout the most of it. But yeah, so she starts out at at a younger age and wants to play that role of the villain because she wants to get to that ending that the original story had. But I guess just because your true nature is going to come out if you're around people long enough. Most of the characters kind of start to get that feeling like, oh, we know that she's just trying to get to this goal, but she's actually like a relatively good person. So after, she reaches this point, we kind of find out like, oh, they already know, and like when she's banished and things like that, they want to help her and, all that stuff. I think that's a little generic. I won't lie. I mean, I've seen that idea before. I think it's a little fun, though, that they actually do just straight up skedaddle. And then they kind of go on, alternate routes, kind of like after the original story would have taken place. It's not, beholden to, like, the original plot line, like a lot of other stories are, where it's her just kind of playing a role, but they know and they kind of disregard that. It's like, no, she's, genuinely on a different path here and, started like a whole new system. She, is working in a different area in like the local government. She's trying to make money. She's breaking down, detrimental parts of society. Like, I think it's a relatively fun, just like, your character is just going and messing with different elements, and it's just like a linear journey where there's really nothing, super special that you're going to run across. It's just like, here's a new problem, they deal with the problem, let's move on to the next town, right? Which I think is fine. I think it's a fun idea for a series. In terms of like major players, like I said, realistically, and like in character importance, really, like, it's mainly her and this guy, right? He's one of her favorites, right? But he is like, I think she literally calls him her best boy, which is, I mean, I like the use of terms that you hear often now with like that kind of culture and everything. It's kind of funny. And, she really likes him. He's the one that she found initially, and he sticks to her whole thing. He knows about her whole idea of standing different characters. Like, all of her servants kind of know about that, and they kind of respond accordingly. Like, oh, Master's up to that silly old thing again. But they know she's a good person, and I think it's kind of sweet. His personality is relatively basic, just like, I want you to like me, and I'm good at everything. That's the general idea. And most of the jokes come in with her being able to, like, I don't know, if he disguises himself, everyone else can't tell who he is, but she can instantly, things like that. It's relatively fun. But I would say the driving force of the series is definitely the main character, more so than any secondary characters. They're just kind of there to give her something to do. Yeah, I think that's like, those are the main elements of the series, I would say. I guess we can just do the old SAE. You might be asking, well, what is the SAE? Well, it's story, art, and enjoyment. Here's the thing. The story's basic, so I have to give it a 5. It doesn't stand out to me at all, really. And the art is just, it's okay. Like a 7. I mean, maybe even a 6, depending on how you feel. It's all right. As far as enjoyment goes, again, I would say probably between like a 6 and a 7. So I think like a fair objective rating would probably be a 6 or a 7. It's it's not bad by any means, but it's also not what I would call good. You know, they're not really trying to break any new ground. I mean, the idea of like a villain that's like, you know, someone reincarnated as a villain that is like super into the original heroes isn't really that unique. The whole idea of playing the antagonist, again, not really unique. And then, you know, like I just said, supporting, you know, her favorite characters, again, not really that unique. These are all ideas I've seen before, and I don't really think they're even executed that differently in this series. Um, and in this series, I would say one of the bigger faults is that, yes, the main character herself is a very, I wouldn't say very, but she's a well-written character for the most part. Like, I enjoy her character, but all of like the little, you know, the little secondary characters that spring up throughout the series are just kind of eh. Like the joke is, it's like a one-note joke of just like, wow, you know, she's crazy. Haha. I can't believe she likes me that much for no reason. It's like, okay. I mean, it might be funny for the first chapter or two, but it is going to start to drain on you because, like, just because like they're not really trying to break any new ground. They're clearly just trying to fit like this, you know, one funny idea that the author came up with, and then just keep doing it over and over and over again. But I'm not going to fault it really. Like it's not like a, you know, the worst product ever, but it's one of those series where like, if you have the time, I think it might be a fun little read, but it's not something I would go out of my way for. I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. I'd appreciate if, you know, you could like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Maybe leave another story that you want me to read down below. Even if I read it, I'll read it again. I don't really care. And, yeah, I'll see you.